Welcome back on the AM show. We get into our big stories. But even before we get there and I introduce my guest to you, you do know water is life, right? And that's why I'd like to introduce to you Awake Purified Drinking Water. And here's why. It is premium water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. And there's more. In terms of size ranges, they cover everybody. You're looking for something for the kids, small, 330 ml. In their packs, and they're good to go. They have 500 milliliters, 750 milliliters, 1.5 liters for those who always want to drink more. But if you want something for your office or home, they've got you covered too. They have 19-liter jar bottles that are ideal for those situations. So all you must do now is stay awake with Awake Purified Drinking Water. And for me, the best part, it is one for life. For every bottle you purchase, Awake makes a donation, sends a token to the National Cardiothoracic Center. Now, if you know the cost of heart disease, you will know that it's very difficult for most people who fall foul or who succumb to heart disease. That is why, by purchasing Awake, you are actually helping out those people. It's another quality product by Casapreco Company Limited. If you'd like to purchase in bulk, this is the number to call, 0262 351 251, 0262 351 251. This advert is FDA approved. But let's get into our conversation now. This morning, a lot to talk about, from Alan Kyerematen and his statements in the Volta region to the SkyTrain feasibility and the $2 million for which the minority in Parliament is crying foul, to the Jachikwason situation and the lengthy court processes, the protracted court processes, which have been targeted by the Attorney General and his deputy, saying these are just moves to stymie the process and more. But even as we host the Member of Parliament for Bawumia Constituency, Kofi Adams, let me just make this clear. I always do this so that no one sits somewhere and says, oh, they brought one side. We reached out to the MPP to give us someone to represent on this platform, on this show, and it was a no-show. It is not our fault. Like Pilate, I wash my hands. Kofi Adams, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Chief.
Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you, too, for the opportunity always.
How is Bawumia?
Well, Bawumia is okay. God has given us life, and God continued to give us the peaceful atmosphere that we've always had. As I keep saying, it is only what we expect the elected officials and government to do that is failing. As we speak now, our Agenda 111 has not seen any progress. We're still at ground zero. The site is still being prepared. Our one district, one factory has turned to a major forest where people now go to hunt for antelopes and what have you. Roads are unattended to after they dug all kinds of places, even sometimes destabilizing water supply to Jasikan community. I'm told by the regional minister that they have now gone through a laborious process to terminate the contract that the rules minister told me in Parliament that they haven't even signed. How you have difficulty terminating a contract, you yourself claim you haven't even signed with that person yet. Only God knows. So if you go to the town now, it's terrible. As I always keep describing it, if you compare the Jasikan town roads with the Eastern Corridor Road, it's like moving from a market scene to a cemetery. You see how a market scene is so noisy and how so deafening the silence is at the cemetery. That's the difference. That's how I can use to describe our community roads and the Eastern Corridor section that have happened. The rains that occurred 2-3 days ago have had some impact in a few of the communities, and it is my prayer that it doesn't continue.
Are you referring to the same ones that struck Ho?
No, the day the whole one happened, we didn't suffer it, but I've just been informed that 3 days ago, all through till yesterday, we had some rains and some communities have been affected. I pray that no life is lost through, because it's farming season and many of them still have to access their farms and have to cross these streams to go to their farms. And if the streams are flooded in one way or the other, it becomes very difficult for them to go. Some may attempt to be daring because that's the only way they can feed themselves. And it is my prayer that systems are put in place to advise persons and then to stop them from being daring, because water has some strength that you can't stop it. And so I want to use this medium to advise my people once again that they should wait for the water to recede before they can go to their farms. Otherwise, we are doing well. And let me take the opportunity that you have given me to greet my very good people of Bawumia, and then those there and those even outside, that together, let's work hand in hand to build our home.
2 quick questions on the back of what you've just said. So, what are the chief problems of the Bawumia constituency? I'd like to find out. And what is happening with the SAL situation? Santo Kofi, Akpafu, Likpe, and Lolobi. You're very close. That issue is one that is very close to your chest. You're very passionate about it.
That's true.
Ahead of election 2024, what are the moves so far? What are you anticipating? I've heard the Electoral Commission bring it up a few times. Briefly on these two, so we can get to other matters.
Thank you. They say home first. There are a lot of infrastructural challenges in my constituency, no doubt about that. We still need to improve our health care facilities. Our roads are terrible, very bad. As for water, myself and my MC, we have done quite a lot. I brought an organization in there in which she's supporting also strongly, and we've done some intervention that I would say that for water we are picking up. Electrification project is a challenge because the ECG have not been able to replace these bucket type of transformers with the modern ones. So you still have a number of communities that are faced with that challenge, and coupled with its extension. But what is also dear to my heart, which I pray and hope that we will resolve so soon, is also the issue to do with our chieftaincy issues and determination of some petty misunderstanding amongst the various royals as we have them. I do hope that when that happens, it will enable the traditional council to meet regularly and to also support the efforts of political leadership in the traditional area. And that would also pave way for more traditional related tourism activities. For a very long time, the people of Bawumia have not been able to celebrate their festival as we have known it to be. If my memory serves me right, the last time we ever did was in 1992, when we celebrated our Yam Festival with our chiefs in their palanquins and whatever. You can imagine, from 92 till now, a child that was even born in 92 should be about 31 years, 31 years now. And it means that if you are age 31, you haven't really witnessed any festival in your traditional area, which is not fair to the younger generation. So it's something that I've been working on for us to be able to overcome, so we could introduce, so properly speaking, introduce our festivals back into the system again. Right. Because it will draw people home. People will have reason to want to go home. Because as for Easter and Christmas, you can celebrate it anywhere. But when you have a traditional festival, that is what encourages your persons who are living outside of the traditional area to want to come home. So it's one thing that I wish is done. On the issue of SAL.
On the issue of SAL, quickly, and it's an important issue.
After a very long delay, after governments delaying all the processes leading to a delay in the creation of the districts, which would have led to the creation of the constituency ahead of the 2020 elections, and the Attorney General appearing in Parliament to give us some answers that nobody really understood. Virtually, he condemned his own government for taking the steps to create the district at the time that they did. He's given his advice that the Electoral Commission should go ahead with the creation of the constituency. The Electoral Commission have visited Parliament for the pre-laying engagement with the subsidiary legislation committee, which I even attended. We have looked at the electoral areas that will make up the constituencies and the names for those electoral areas. What we are waiting for now is for the Electoral Commission to come back to Parliament and lay the constitutional instrument that will lead to the creation of the Guam constituency. And so I don't know what is holding them back, because they gave us a promise that they were going to immediately do so. And every information they wanted, they have gotten it from the proposed constituency. They have gotten it from the proposed constituency. So I don't know what is delaying the EC in bringing back the CI, as we have all agreed at this pre-laying engagement with the subsidiary legislation committee. I thought they were going to bring it somewhere last week, so we could get maybe some 10 or 12 days to count before we will go on recess. Then by the time we return, after some few days count again, the CI would have matured and we will know that the constituency is so created. I don't know what is holding them back, but at least this is how far we have come in terms of getting a constituency for the people of Central Kofi, Akpafu, Lolobi, and Likpe, which is called SAL.
Well, thank you for the update, and of course, I know you're going to be pushing on that. But let's get into some other crucial issues this morning. Your party, the NDC, is hoping to return to power. Sure. The MPP is hoping to break the 8. Yeah. If you look at the Daily Guide today, you would see the Vice President talking about let's keep NPP in power. And I was asking myself, whether it's the NDC or the MPP, there must be good reason to either bring to power or retain in power. According to him, the ruling party could only sustain its splendid works for the country when it is able to win the 2024 elections. I find this kind of rhetoric problematic. You can only do what you want to do if you are retained in power. How about the 8 years? And I can say same too for the NDC. You know, when you come into power and 4 years, let's give us another 4 years, and let's do this, let's do that. Your parties are always trying to stay in power, but I look at the deliverables and I get worried. We have this latest Hotline documentary put together by my colleague Jojo Kobina, Thirsty Dams. One village, one dam is in shambles, in a shambles, so to speak. So how do you react? I'll come to what Alan said in the Volta region, but what are the justifications, basically? Your party wants to come back to power. With what? The MPP wants to retain power. With what to show?
Well, I know you are only asking questions because you have to ask when it comes to the NDC. Because the deliverables...
I'm not only asking because I have to ask. I'm asking because there are pertinent grounds from both your end to ask.
You are because the two are incomparable. Really? I have said that people have said politics in Ghana here, the NDC MPP is like granule soup or palm nut soup. And I said no. The NDC could be described as the soup that is useful, and the MPP I would describe as poison that you must not touch. So we must not.
But that again, I'm sorry. I have to.
Well, you
cannot say.
I'm
that
telling you because I will.
While some people may be critical of the MPP, you cannot say that everything they do is negative.
I'm not here to talk about if you have given opportunity to invest and you waste our money the way you have done, only for you to come and be blaming all manner of things. And I will get to that. You see, the Vice President says. He goes to places and says he's the only one who can beat John Mahama, so he should be elected. In another place, he says he has beaten John Mahama before. And I ask, has the Vice President contested any elections in this country before to even suggest that? I thought the Vice President would be telling us how he can beat the dollar. I thought the Vice President would be telling us how he can beat unemployment. I thought the Vice President would be telling us how he can bring down fuel prices. I thought the Vice President would be telling us how the people of La, who had a hospital, which he led his government for them to go and break down, he will be telling them how he was going to get back the hospital so that the people can benefit from health care. I thought the Vice President would be telling us the level of insecurity that we have all around us. as someone who is the chair of the police council, he will be leading a process to resolve all these problems. I thought the vice president would be telling us how he carried our debt level from 120 billion to almost 600 billion, how he was going to bring this down. I thought the vice president would be particularly interested in how food suppliers to our secondary schools and the rest who are picketing will be paid.
100 million Ghana cedis has been made available.
Well, it's been made available. They haven't received it. Yesterday, they said they came till evening, nothing has happened.
And they will continue. The head says they're going to get the remaining.
And I'm saying, well, they were promised that they will start receiving the money on the 17th. And 17th, they didn't receive anything. So let's wait and see what would happen. I thought the vice president would be telling us how the old ladies and the old men who are picketing for their bonds will be treated in a more respectable way. I thought the vice president would be interested that when you take people's money in the name of cocoa bills, we would not be telling them that we are giving you haircut and when your money is due in August, you will not get it, but rather you must wait up till 2024. This is what we expect the vice president to be talking about, not how you will go about being accused by your own other contestant and they want to rig elections in your favor and to think that you can move further to rig the national elections. So as for the vice president, he is out. But clearly, the NDC has a track record. The NDC in government can point to things that it has done with the intention of lifting Ghana up. Today, in the area of energy, you can what Atuabo Gas alone, the Ghana Gas Company, has done to this economy, what it has saved us, you can't just imagine. This is through the thought process of the NDC to make sure that we establish such a huge industry, such an investment to save the situation. Look at the sugar factory that we did, but for this political decision of this government to virtually collapse that factory and fold it up and hand it over to their cronies in a way that nobody can actually describe. I'm speaking about Commander Sugar Factory.
But the intention is not working.
Well, because they decided to make it not work. Even the seedling, that's where I have problem with Alan Kojo Kyerematen also. Even the seedling, the nursery sites that have been established, they allow the nursery sugar cane to overgrow and they have to sell that to Apetesi distillers. The idea was to have finished the idea.
The whole point at the time, there are two sides to this story. The whole point is that those those who cultivated sugarcane they ended up selling to these
because the factory was not functioning. Yes, that's what I'm saying. And they came back telling us that there was no raw material. They came back deceiving us that there was no raw material.
Well, let me ask you this. So the factory, the Commander Sugar Factory, as of the time the NDC left power, was it in a state that would actually produce any sugar?
It was more than in a state that would produce sugar. I was talking about even the nursery site to have outgrowers and the rest. All those facilities were available. This government decided that they were not going to follow through just because they didn't want. You see, they are good at attempting to change things instead of working with them to perfect them. The NDC, anytime we come to power, we don't care that you have done something and denigrated other persons. We will work to build it and make it better instead of working to destroy it. Then they will come around and say you have not initiated anything. Take health insurance. Look, at the time President Rawlings initiated the process that we should work on national health insurance, the NPP were opposed to it. Dr. Kwame Adokufo is still alive today. He was then the ranking for health. He granted interview that national health insurance will not work and that we should allow individuals to go and run their own health insurance systems. But we persisted, went through the pilot processes. President Kufuor wins, of course, he came and established what we call the mutual health insurance. It wasn't national health insurance. When we came, we didn't say that, oh, well, because he did it, we are throwing everything away. We perfected it and made it national. Look, we were having national mobilization program that was mobilizing young and elderly persons, free hands, and putting them into productive work. What they did was to collapse that, and in place, they had something they call National Youth Employment Program. When we came, we could have said that we were destroying that. We said, no, let's work to develop it. We took it through processes and gave it the legal backing that it deserved. See, that is NDC for you. We had a transport system. They came, they collapsed it, they say, oh, they want to do metro mass transport. Maybe when we came, we could have said,
Ayalolo.
no, President Kofi brought metro mass system. When we came, we could have said we were collapsing it. No.
President Mills, that Ayalolo is still...
Yeah, President Mills led the process and made sure that we stocked them with more buses from the right-hand donated buses that they were using. We stocked them with better buses to keep that running. So the NDC, we don't collapse things. We build this country.
Is the NDC afraid of...
Let me just conclude. We don't have a termite mentality. You see, termites, in their thinking that they are building, end up destroying very productive material like wood and the rest. They destroy it. That's the kind of mentality that the NPP have. How do you go and raise down a hospital when you do not have funds to even build another? How do you raise down a hospital and promise the people with weights? So this is the problem that we have.
Is a situation this is the problem. that is really problematic because people in that community now have to go to other hospitals.
I am giving you many other examples why NDC is different. Look at other health facilities around. Look at schools. Look at roads. Look at airports. Look at seaports. This is the only government that have appointed a director of port that don't exist. The NDC was building and expanding ports. Look at what we did with the Tema Harbour and Takoradi Harbour. But what the MPP have done is to appoint a Keta director of ports for Keta, a harbour that does not exist.
Right.
This is what this government. So don't compare us.
Just on the politics.
We are not the same.
Of things. Just on the politics of things. Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, the vice president, yes, he's been saying what he has, touting himself as the next leader of the NPP, the one who can wrest power from the NDC and prevent their coming back to power. Now, if the NDC has no fear of the vice president, I mean, you should want him to win, right? So,
well, but who says we have fear of him?
But it's been said. That's what his campaigner said.
Well, they are deceiving their people, but I pray that he wins. I seriously pray that Bawumia wins. I pray that he wins.
Because you think he'll be a softer
Because Kennedy Japan already has a message for him. Say strategist my foot. That a strategist who came and in charge of the economy when dollar to CD was 4 CDs to $1. Today you are buying a dollar for 12 CD and you say you are strategist. You took a debt from 120 to almost 600 billion and you say you are a strategist. Unemployment is now about 14% when it was less than 10%. Youth unemployment is almost 42%. Food inflation is over 50%. And you say you are a strategist. We want Bawumia to win. Because
Bawumia to win?
We want him to win.
Because you think the NDC will just run over him.
The man just said that. He said you don't need to go and borrow. Build roads and toll them. And that is all. You don't need to borrow to do any roads. They are borrowing into projects that we don't even see. To the point that they have even put your $2 million into a sky train that does not exist. Phantom projects.
We'll get into that shortly.
Phantom projects. Yes, I'm just leading you into. So this is not somebody that we are afraid. This is someone who has disappointed even the president who had confidence in him. Look, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo had every confidence in Bawumia. But I must say that he has scammed the president. He scammed the president. The confidence that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo had in him that I am a politician. You are the one I'm bringing in as Wizkid to come and help save situation, the economy and the rest. He has scammed him. He scammed the president. And that is why we are where we are today. Now today, he himself now wants to come and lead. Kennedy Japan has message for him. Kyerematen has message for him. Kwabena Japan has message for him.
So as far as the NDC is concerned, you want Bawumia to win?
I am saying that I'll be so glad that he wins. Because what is he going to tell Ghanaians again? To continue the lies? To continue telling them the stories that we will do this, we will do that, we will do that, when you already have the chance and you failed miserably? You see, you can give people all kinds of freebies that you want to do for them to praise you and say all the things that they have to say. But ultimately, the truth will appear.
All right.
If you have malaria and you think that by taking paracetamol and the rest to strike off the headache and the nausea that you are feeling, it means that you are treating malaria, you are deceiving yourself. When the effect of the paracetamol goes away, the malaria will show.
Do you then see Alan Kyerematen, and look, most people have forecast that it's going to be a straight fight between Alan Kyerematen, who says Edruniso, versus the vice president who says when he was sitting in the dock in 2012, pink sheets and doing all of that, no one said Edruniso. It's going to be, that is what some people have projected, it's going to be a straight fight between them. Do you think then that Alan Kyerematen would pose a stiffer threat to the NDC compared to the vice president?
Well, he says when it was court time, nobody said Edruniso.
That was what the vice president
The court papers, who and who went to court? Was it not His Excellency Nana Danko Akufo-Addo, late Jake Otanka Obi-Chebilamte, and he, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the vice president, then the running mate. These were the three people who have their names. So was he expecting another person to go and be the witness in the box? So
that's your question to the vice president.
So
he was one of the petitioners.
The petitioners.
Did he expect someone else to have their name
to have the name there? You were the petitioner. And so you expected someone else to go and be in the dock? No. So he should tell you that our vice president, when he talks, he doesn't even know what he's talking about.
But is that a fair comment?
No, but you are the petitioner. And you appear in the dock. And you are using that to say that some people didn't appear in the dock when it came to that. How are you expecting them to appear in the dock when they are not part, the person is not a petitioner? You want to petition for another person to go into the dock. It doesn't make sense to me. So you will have him tomorrow to become president, and he will tell you now, maybe it will no longer be the finance minister that is not allowing him to function. He will tell you IMF, ECOWAS chair, and the rest are not allowing him to function. Because he's giving us many, many excuses. His people are telling us that the vice president is not being listened to. If you are a vice president, you are not being listened to by your minister. Then when you become president, you come and tell us that the ECOWAS chairman is not allowing you to function. And we don't want that type of person.
How about the
Alan is equally not a threat. Look, all the persons
but of the two, which one is the bigger threat?
All the persons, but they are all the same though. Why? Alan, there's no difference. He was in the cabinet. You should come and tell us the jobs that he's created as minister for
he's a two-time minister for trade and industry. Under Kofi,
yes,
and under this.
And that is why.
And there's a lot that has also been done.
And I'm saying been done where?
In his administration. He's a lawyer. He's a lawyer.
One district, one factory.
He's an economist as well. And he's touting himself that, look, he is the best person, all-encompassing, to lead the country.
Between him and the vice president, I would say in terms of telling things that one they have not done or they can do, know well that they cannot do, he is better. But the two of them, plus others in the race there, none of them will be any force for us to worry that, this one has some advantage over the other.
But the truth of the matter, obviously, if you prefer Bawumia to Alan Kyerematen, then it must mean that Alan poses a bigger threat to the NDC.
No. I just want him to be defeated for him to know his smoothness level.
Whom?
Because
Alan?
Yes, Bawumia.
Right.
I want him to be defeated to know his smoothness level. That is why I prefer him, not because he comes with a weaker situation than maybe any other person. But if the party is looking into the future, then it is better for them to go for any other person other than Bawumia. It's better if they are looking into the future. But I'm not here to advise MPP, and I will not advise them. They don't have to even take my advice. It's not.
So do you think it would be suicidal if the MPP went with Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the vice president?
Well, they have already created a suicide for their party, at least for a foreseeable future, by the performance that they have exhibited now and the way they have wasted our resources. The way they have wasted our resources and brought pain onto persons. It is not the choice they make that is leading them into that suicide room. They have already actually admitted themselves in the room already. They would only conclude it by maybe who they elect. They will only conclude that by who they, because their performance
Alan
is so
also
clear.
says that he's the biggest threat to the NDC in the Volta region. For the first time, you lost the Hohoi seat.
Well, it should be,
and he's now saying that if his party selects him, he's going to whittle away more of the votes in your the Volta region.
The parliamentary seat we lost was not because of presidential or anything.
What was it?
Don't forget that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama
that is the point, but
won,
where it is crucial, you
I'm
lost
saying
the seat.
that. I'm saying that. Well, but our flag bearer won that seat convincingly. The gap between him and President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was over 20,000.
So you are conceding it was maybe the quality of the person you put forward?
There were not the quality, but then there were challenges on the ground. We had a candidate.
The electoral reconfiguration? Is that what
exactly. We had a candidate who was from Lolobi, who hails from the south side, which did not participate in voting under Hohwe. At the time we elected our candidate, all those areas were still part of Hohwe. But subsequently, they were hived off and then now added to Buim. And so you had a candidate who from start. And if you look at the votes that President Mahama and President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo got from the Sal area, President Mahama got over 10,000. President Akufo-Addo got a little over 2,000. If you add that to the Hohwe votes, the 5,000 margin victory of Honorable Peter Amewu could have been paid for, and Professor Margaret Kwaku would have won the elections. So if that was added, today the story would have completely been different. So right. I don't see why Alan will be celebrating because maybe they won a seat in Volta region. Check the presidential votes. So come 2024,
they're projecting that the NDC will take the seat back and not lose any other seats.
Of course.
Because in the OT region, there have been threats on some of your seats.
Despite
fully aware of that.
Despite the strength of their parliamentary candidate, we still won presidential convincingly. And you know, it's so difficult to have such a good candidate who flips a constituency with such a margin but unable to lead to the appreciation of what presidential votes significantly. So it should tell you that as for OT, that's the only region that we won all our seats. We hold a track record of winning all the 8 seats.
But some of them narrowly.
Well,
some of them
narrowly. Whether narrow or what, we have won the seats.
Let me just ask you there, even as we get ready to get into Parliament, Parliament is on a knife edge right now in terms of the numbers. And I don't need to, it will be like preaching to the choir. It's on a knife edge with the latest by-election in Asin North. It's that close. You look at places like Asawase with Manaf of the MPP and you know how he's being pushed to become the parliamentary candidate there to face off with Muntaka Mubarak. And ahead of the election, it's going to be really tough.
Yeah.
Well, can you scrape through?
Well, it's been always tough, and Muntaka has always won. And every other time, look, today, Muntaka recently just got an award being recognized as one of the influencers, I think, in Africa or something of that matter. Muntaka is seen as the face of Ghana at ECOWAS Parliament. And even the African Parliament also, he represents us so strongly. So this is someone who has not disappointed the people who have elected him. And I know they will not disappoint him this time round too. He's going to win the Asawase seat. And we are targeting to add more seats to what we have in Ashanti region.
All right, let me get on to 2 issues in Parliament. In the next 5 minutes, let's address them. And then I'll end with the anti-gay bill and the mid-year budget. But the 2 issues in Parliament.
Well, we must look at the Sky Trades.
It's one of the 2 issues I'm talking about. So the $2 million paid in 2019 as a premium to acquire ordinary shares for the development of the Accra Sky Train project. I want you to take a look at that, and then we'll talk about Jachikwesin and the fact that your members of Parliament on your end keep missing sittings. You've received a threat from the Speaker of Parliament. Now, you can't miss more than 15 of those sittings. I don't know how you're going to manage. But what is your take on these two?
Well, I don't think it was a threat from Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker only...
So whichever way you may refer to it as, he's reminding you that you are absent.
No, he only indicated the rules that if you want to be marked absent with permission, these are the processes you should go through. So he only reminded, and for me, it was not even necessary for colleagues to have raised the issue of how they have been captured on the day you had boycotted, because we didn't enter the chamber. That was our position.
Right.
And once you didn't enter the chamber, you are absent. It doesn't matter. You are absent. So I really didn't think that we should have even been raising the issue.
So for you, every time you guys go in support of your minority leader, Dr. Atoforsen or Jachikweisen, you should be marked absent.
If once we don't return to the chamber and you don't sign in, you'll be marked absent. Unless you put in permission, then you could be marked absent with permission. So the Speaker just reminded us of our rules. Right. That if you want to be marked present, you have to sign in.
So moving forward, is that what you as members
of the NDC,
is that what you've agreed on doing?
Well, we are continuing to boycott. Our leadership will give indication as to if the reasons for which we are boycotting, if we see any light, we would review and adapt other strategies. If we are not seeing, we may add other things to what it is that we are already doing.
You are hampering government business, the flow of government.
Well, government
How do you feel about
government
that?
is hampering its business because it is the government side, the prosecution, that decided that they were requesting for a daily hearing of a matter that
but
in
that
the
is
seventh.
A process. That
no, in the seventh
How does
Parliament.
That impact you
Listen,
in Parliament?
Who requests for it? What I'm saying is that in the seventh Parliament, Speaker Michael Kofi had arrangement with the Judiciary and the executive arm, which is in charge of prosecution, Attorney General, that because of the nature of parliamentary business, if a member of Parliament is to appear in court to answer matters, it should be fixed on Mondays or when we are on recess, so that it does not distract him from performing business of the House. But if you decide to set aside this acceptable rule and now decide that on daily basis, they must come. When he is supposed to also serve his people, we must go with him to make sure that it is not done to him. Because if we leave that, he's just alone, the rest of us 136 can stay and do business. Tomorrow they will pick you, they will pick another, and they will pick the third. There will be nobody there to speak for you. So it is important.
This position is one that you're going to continue with?
We will until it is reviewed. Because it must be reviewed. We think that it's unfair to the people of Asenov, it's unfair to the Honorable Jachikweisen to ask him that on daily basis he must appear in court when he has to perform his representative rules. It's unfair. So we will continue to. Today is another court day. We haven't seen any directive from leadership that we have changed our strategy, so it means we are keeping to it.
So you'll be in court today?
We will be in court.
I'm asking you.
Yes, I'll be in court.
All right. Let's look at the SkyTrain saga.
Well, it's
you brought it up in Parliament.
Yeah, it's one of the scams. Yesterday we dealt with.
You call it a scam?
Yes, it's a scam.
Why is it a scam?
And it's a scam because, Master, there have not been any feasibility. There is nothing. The company have no license. We don't know it from anywhere, and you just give away $2 million. Just give away $2 million, and nothing has happened, and nobody. And the current minister for railway development is saying that we can't have any SkyTrain now. The CEO of GIF yesterday is saying, "Oh, it's a project that is still alive." Who is telling us the truth? Is it the minister who is to make the money available for the so-called feasibility, who is saying that we can't have it, or you who have gone to put our money in a scam? Then you finish doing this and you come and blame COVID. Was it COVID that asked them to go and put $2 million in such a project? Was it Ukraine and Russia, Putin or the Ukrainian president, they asked that we should go and put $2 million. Zelensky asked us to go and put $2 million in such a scam. Was this Zelensky or Putin that asked us to go and put $25 million in Pullman Hotel project that has come to a stall?
So if the project does take off, first off, do you know where those $2 million are? And if the project does take off, will that suffice then to remove the tag of a scam?
No, yesterday it was clear that nothing, because even the chief executive of GIF doesn't even know what is happening. The minister, Amewu, spoke not too long ago, and he made it clear that, look, we should forget about sky trains. So it's clear there that this is a scam. And not only that, look, GIF made other investment for which they do not even have certificates. Look, at the time they were telling us excess capacity, they were investing so much of our money in another power generation. 23 million of our money was put into another power generation when they were telling us that there's excess capacity. If I say this is a scam, either you are scamming us with excess capacity, which we have always said so, or you are scamming us with the monies that you are
what then is the next step? What then is the next step for the minority in terms of this sum of $2 million? Well, and how we can recoup it
we've asked that
for the ordinary taxpayer?
It must be recouped, possibly with even interest. And persons behind this must be dealt with.
Which persons, which outfits are you targeting?
Whoever sat and approved the payment of that $2 million will have to answer, including the sector minister who's prepared that project. Railways. Yes, of course. You will have to answer for it. You have to answer for it. And so we cannot, you don't do all these things and come back and blame COVID. You don't waste your money this way. And then you come and sit there and say, oh, COVID. Every time we talk, we say COVID. Every time we talk,
staying on the
COVID.
bit of money.
Let me. Can you imagine if we had invested these $2 million in, say, a fruit processing company, maybe even tomato in Pualugu, so that people are assured that we can, when we grow our tomato, we will get a factory that will process it. Wouldn't that be more profitable for us? Today, we are spending so much money, over $400 million importing tomatoes just from Burkina. Just from Burkina. How?
And mentioning Pualugu reminds me of the multi-purpose dam, almost $1 billion that we've not got. But just staying on the bit of, I know you are on a time leash, so I'm trying to work within your time. Just before you go, so two issues I want you to look at. We're talking money. Ken Oforiatta, the Minister of Finance, will be presenting the mid-year budget on July the 25th. What are your expectations? And finally, staying again in Parliament, the moderator of the Global Evangelical Church has said you as members of Parliament should pass the anti-LGBTQ bill without further delay. Those reactions, and we wrap it up.
Well, for the Finance Minister, we don't expect anything much or difference from him. What it is what it is, we already know, if it's not going to get worse. And so we are waiting for him to come and present his constitutional demand on him. Mr. Speaker have indicated we are going on recess on the 3rd, and so 25th has been given as the date that he would appear before us to present the mid-year review. So when he brings it and to tell us how he's going to deal with all these debt situations, we will take it up from there. The issue of LGBTQ, I think we are more than ready. The second reading has gone through and approved. So what we are going to be doing is the consideration stage where we'll be dealing clause by clause. And what I can say is that I am sure we cannot conclude that process in this meeting. Surely in the next meeting, we will be able to deal with it. As for those who are hiding behind other persons to go to court and say contempt.
Who are these other people? Do you think some members of government, some members of parliament are doing that?
I suspect so.
But if you don't have the evidence,
I have reasonable reasons to suspect
the rule of the
that.
game.
I'm saying that I have reasonable, because sometimes the position and the leaning of some of those persons who are in court makes me believe that we know certain things outside of. I know that this person is connected to this person is connected to that. So if today I find you taking a certain step, there is reasonable justification for me to suspect. And that is what I'm doing. And if that is not the case, when it comes up, we must all know that Parliament has a duty and responsibility to perform its function. And we are performing that function. The judiciary, the judicial arm cannot dictate to Parliament how it should perform its duty. We cannot be performing our role of lawmaking. That if someone is unhappy, then you rush to another arm to say they should come and injunct us from performing our function. No. We are making a law. Okay. We are in the process of that lawmaking. Let us go through the process. If we don't do the right thing in the course of that process, you can challenge a particular thing we did not do right.
Right.
Like in the narcotics amendment bill that we did recently. The judicial arm thought that there was one particular section that we didn't do right. So we have to go through the process in the right way. And we have done it.
All right.
We can't stop us from performing our duty.
Kofi Adams, we're grateful for your time. We've exhausted quite a number of matters this morning.
There was only one issue that I really wanted. The last time I raised the issue
Kofi, your time, it's your time.
Supply of unregistered tomatoes and unwholesome tomatoes to schools by the buffer stock. The Deputy Minister for Education was with me on one of your platforms, and he challenged me that it was not true. I brought the Auditor General's report to show us evidence. That's paragraph 906 to 911. That dealt with that issue of supply of unregistered tomato paste to schools like Hilal Iman Senior High School and what have you. And they have to order its withdrawal. And this was the supplier was National Buffer Stock. National Buffer Stock. And it's there, clear in the Auditor General's report.
Okay. Thanks for that clarity, Mr. Adams. Kofi Adams is Member of Parliament for Bawumia, and he joined us for this conversation. Once more, thanks for coming, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Right. And let me just reiterate, like I did at the start of the program, we invited the other side, the MPP. They did not facilitate us with any representation. So that is why it was just Kofi Adams in the studio. But speaking about the different sides, different thinking on different matters, the Osajefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, recently he came to the fore again. He always has been, but in reference to the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park. We decided to go there. And my colleague Bernice Abubedo Lanza had an interaction, fortunately, with two of the Osajefo's children, Samia Nkrumah and Sekou Nkrumah. Now, an interesting bit in there. There are those who have said the man showed tendencies of being a dictator or a despot, while others have vehemently pushed back against that. It was interesting because that question was posed to these two children, and curiously, they also had different takes on the matter. That conversation with Bernice Abubedo Lanza, together with Samia Nkrumah and Sekou Nkrumah, is up next on the AM show. Do stay.